Scene start visual. A dramatic slow-motion shot of a man, Jonah, being thrown from a chaotic boat into a raging, dark sea. The storm is violent, with crushing waves and lightning. Narrator, have you ever felt like you were thrown overboard, cast into a storm not of your own making? Or perhaps one that was, the waves of life crash over you, the sky darkens, and every direction you look, there is only the churning, merciless sea. You feel yourself sinking, pulled down into an abyss of despair, far from the light, far from any hope of rescue. It is a place of absolute isolation, where your voice seems to be swallowed by the chaos before it can even form a word. Visual. The camera follows Jonah underwater as he sinks. A colossal, shadowy figure of a great fish emerges from the murky depths and swallows him in a single, swift motion. The screen cuts to black. Narrator. In this moment of ultimate darkness, when all seems lost, a flicker of faith can ignite a defiant prayer. The prophet Jonah, entombed in the belly of the great fish, found himself in the deepest realm of the dead. Yet, from this suffocating prison, he cried out, not in surrender, but in supplication. He chose to believe that even from the depths of the earth, a voice could reach the heights of heaven. His words, echoing through the ages, remind us that no pit is so deep that God's ear cannot hear. He called to the Lord in his distress, and the Lord answered him from the very heart of despair. He called for help, and God listened to his cry. Visual. The scene shifts to the dark, cavernous, and fleshy interior of the fish. Water drips from the walls. Jonah is on his knees, hands clasped, face turned upward in fervent prayer. Beams of faint, bioluminescent light occasionally flicker, emphasizing the crushing darkness and his profound isolation. Narrator, inside this living tomb, surrounded by an oppressive, suffocating darkness, Jonah discovered a profound truth. Hope is not the absence of suffering, but the presence of God. Within it, he was stripped of everything, his freedom, his direction, his pride. In that profound emptiness, his faith was all that remained. His prayer was not a polite request. It was a desperate, raw cry from a soul at its breaking point. It was an act of audacious faith, believing in a God of deliverance even when encased in a tomb of flesh, buried beneath the waves. This is where true faith is forged. Not in the comfort of the light, but in the crucible of the abyss, where the only thing to hold on to is a promise. Visual. A montage begins. A younger, weary David is seen hiding in the desolate, rocky caves of En-Gedi. He looks over his shoulder, hunted and exhausted by King Saul's pursuit. The scene transitions to him by a small fire inside a cave, writing on a scroll, his face etched with sorrow and longing, but also with a determined focus. Narrator. Centuries before Jonah, another soul knew this same brand of desperation. David, the shepherd boy, anointed to be king, became a fugitive, hunted by a jealous monarch. He traded a palace for desolate caves, a throne for a cold, stone floor. His days filled with fear, his nights with uncertainty. He was a man with a promise from God. Yet his reality was one of constant peril and isolation. It was in these dark, hiding places, in the lonely wilderness, that David poured out his heart. His pen became his weapon. His anguish, the ink. He composed the Psalms, timeless anthems of human struggle and divine faithfulness, like Jonah. David refused to let his circumstances silence his praise or his pleas. He cried out to God from his personal abyss, and his words became a testament that God hears the prayers of the afflicted. Visual, epic, cinematic shots of golden light breaking through dark, heavy storm clouds over a vast desert landscape. The light pours down in brilliant rays. This transitions to a breathtaking sunrise over the rolling hills of Judea, bathing the land in warm, hopeful light. Narrator: the stories of Jonah and David are not just ancient tales. They are eternal promises etched into the fabric of our faith. They declare a universal truth that resounds through history. God's seer is always inclined to the cry of his children when you feel forgotten, lost in the shadows, or buried by your troubles. Remember that the darkness has no power over the one who created light. His deliverance may not come in the way you expect or in the timing you desire, but his promise is unfailing. He is a God who parts the seas, who commands the creatures of the deep, and who turns the deepest night into a glorious dawn. As the scriptures promise, the righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their trouble. Visual: a powerful sequence showing the great fish releasing Jonah onto a sandy shore. Jonah, exhausted but alive, looks up at the sky with profound gratitude and relief. This is followed by a shot of David, no longer a fugitive, but standing strong and confident as the anointed king of Israel, looking over his kingdom. The final shot is a serene, beautiful landscape as the sun sets. Narrator: asterisk. From the belly of a fish to the throne of a kingdom. The evidence is clear. Our deepest moments of despair can become the very ground from which our greatest testimonies grow. When you call out from your own personal storm, know that you are not alone. You are participating in a sacred history of deliverance. So, lift your voice from the depths. Let your prayer be your anchor and your faith be your light. For the same God who heard Jonah and delivered David is listening for you right now, ready to lead you out of the darkness and onto the shore of his unfailing grace. Trust in his promise, for he will surely bring you through sin and